screen's a bit wonky and I've got no microphone because I lost the doohickey thing for the end of my microphone. So I hope you can hear me. I wasn't going to go live. I was actually going to do this sort of record it, but I've decided to go live. I've already recorded one video today that I've just uploaded. I'm just trying to get onto my own page on my laptop so that I can hopefully see any comments that come up. So yeah, you've all been wanting to, well, everybody knows what was happening and has seen what happened at the White House on Friday with Volodymyr Zelensky being bullied by Trump and Vance, and it was just despicable. It was awful. It was just dreadful that those two statesmen acted like they did. So I want to go back to the beginning of when Zelensky arrived at the White House, and he got out of the car and Trump was there to meet him. And Trump uttered something about the way he was dressed. That was the first thing that he said. Oh, you're not wearing a suit, or something along those lines. And I was quite shocked about that because Zelensky's country is at war. They are fighting. And, you know, he, at a moment's notice, may need to get on a plane and go back to Ukraine. This is a man who has been fighting, who has been seen in fatigues, who has, you know, actually been at war, been fighting with his troops. Whereas Donald Trump has bone spurs and got out of being in the army. And that in itself, well, is it true? Is it fake? Don't know. But I have various injuries, and I broke my leg and still taught yoga. I have a problem with my Achilles tendon on my right ankle, and I still manage to run with that. I have a herniated disc in my lower spine. I still manage to run with that. So, and I'm 56. So yeah, that, well, almost 56. I'll be 56 next month. So does it really matter? You know, is it just an excuse that he made for, you know, not getting into the army, not serving? But his behavior and jd-vance's behavior at that meeting in the White House on Friday was despicable. It was awful. It was shocking to see. Two grown men picking on a war hero. How rude, how childish, how bullying. And it just goes to show how narrow-minded Trump and Vance can be. I was thinking about this earlier on today, and I was in the shower after my run and sort of working out what I was going to say. And I just thought I'd let it free flow. And I see there's comments and thank you. And yes, Chris, he is a war hero. He's not a mobster. Trump's a mobster. And these are just my thoughts. So you are welcome to have your thoughts. Please, if you do go into chat, please keep conversation polite. Try not to troll. I don't have a moderator, it is just me, so it'd be nice if people could be polite. Hi, Chris. Hi, Janika. Thank you for saying hello. Eloa TV, hello. This is only the second live I've done. I managed to lose the first live last week. Have I ever been to Ukraine? You've been brainwashed by UK media. Okay, my love, I had. a friend when I was at school who her name was Alla Kuyanova, and she was from Ukraine. She was actually from Kyiv. So yeah, I think I know maybe a bit more. But no, I don't just watch UK media. I actually watch a vast array of media. So these are my thoughts on what I witnessed happening in the White House on Friday. Brian Glenn seemed to hit the button when he said that to Zelensky, why aren't you wearing a suit? Why are you dressed like that? Does it matter? Does it really matter? What if he was Muslim, for example, and was wearing traditional Muslim clothing? Would it matter? No. This is a man who's fighting a war. Winston Churchill, when he visited the White House back in World War II, didn't wear a suit. He was wearing army fatigues. I don't feel that there is anything disrespectful about what Volodymyr Zelensky was wearing. Chris, stay off politics. Okay, sweetheart. Okay, if you say so. Again, try not to troll because you just look small. When he said that, that seemed to spark JD Vance into saying, why haven't you said thank you? Volodymyr Zelensky has said thank you countless times to the president. JD Vance also then accused him of going to be with the Democrats before the election and help them with the election campaign. So what? Biden and the Democrats were the current government at the time. It would seem like a natural thing to do. Does that matter about the current situation? No, it had nothing to do with the current situation or the meaning or the meeting. If they had actually been polite to Zelensky, things would have been totally different. One thing that people need to remember is English is Zelensky's third language. I would love to see Trump speaking Russian or Ukrainian, or in fact any other language than American. JD Vance is a troll. He is Trump's little puppet, and Trump is Putin's puppet. What they did on Friday was deliberate. It was orchestrated. They had decided beforehand that they were going to gang up on Zelensky to try to bully him into signing a peace deal that did not have any security for Ukraine after that deal was signed. Trump wants that peace deal for a number of reasons. The first one being that he wants the mining rights to the rare minerals in Ukraine, of which there aren't that many. And he wants a Nobel Peace Prize. He has also mentioned, and Vance has mentioned, and also there was a tweet earlier on today from Elon Musk that to leave NATO. Now, NATO was a conglomeration of countries that fought as allies in World War II, America being one of them. And if America step out of NATO, obviously things change if they ignore Article 5 and they step out of NATO. What happens to NATO? What happens to the rest of the allies? Well, perhaps they stick together. But I'd like to remind the American viewers that during the war in Afghanistan, NATO allies helped America. That included Britain. That included Canada and France. And it included Australia. But America now wants to pull out of Ukraine. Now, Trump's little lie about $350 billion that he has spent on Ukraine, or the previous administration spent on Ukraine, which is What is supposed to happen with, sorry, I'm just reading a comment there. What? The reason why all of the United States allies are on Russia's side is because they don't let far-right media do their thinking for them. They understand the reality of the situation. You do realize that Russia is far-right. And anyway, let's come back to what I was talking about before. So Trump wants this deal so that he can get a Nobel Peace Prize. And he was upset with Zelensky because Zelensky wanted a security on that treaty that he was going to sign. He wanted security that Russia would not invade again, because that's what will happen. Can you imagine, guys, if you're living in America at the moment, and I think that there are quite a few of you that are watching are from the States. Let's say Texas was invaded by Mexico, and a world leader, let's say Russia, came to you and said, okay, we want to end the war, so you need to sign a peace deal, but you need to give up Texas. Would you as Americans give up Texas? Just asking. Or would you continue fighting until you had won back Texas? Would you want a deal that you would, that Mexico would have all of the oil that's in Texas, and then they won't let you sign an agreement that Mexico won't invade another state in America? That's what Ukraine wants. Ukraine is a sovereign state, a sovereign country that had its own borders. In 2014, Crimea was annexed to Russia, and an agreement then was signed to say that Russia would not invade again. There would be security agreement there. And guess what? Russia did invade again and have now taken a huge amount of land from Ukraine. If you were in a country that was being invaded, would you want to protect that country? So what Trump and Vance did was despicable. That is not how diplomacy works. That is not how diplomatic leaders should behave. They acted like children. They acted like bullies on a playground. And Trump at one stage actually did push. He pushed Zelensky. The man has been fighting for a couple of years. I doubt very much that Donald Trump would be able to do the same thing. Now, I don't hate Americans. I really don't. I do feel that the MAGA crowd, though, has been and is being manipulated into believing that Donald Trump is going to do good things for you guys, and he's not. He is selling you out to Russia. That is what he's doing. He admires the oligarchs. He admires wealth. He does not care one jot about the poor people of the state who have no money, who have no jobs, who are homeless. Much the same as our Tory party here in the UK had no thought or care for the people of England. Luckily now we have a Labour government. And Keir Starmer is taking so many steps forward to help with this situation. Today at Lancaster House in London, he had an emergency meeting with presidents and prime ministers of Europe, as well as Justin Trudeau from Canada. So Emmanuel Macron was there. Various other leaders around Europe were there. And Britain has said that we will stand by Ukraine until this is sorted out. And this is according to an agreement that was made a few years ago, that we would stand by Ukraine. So we don't renege on our treaties that we sign, unlike some countries do, Russia for one. Ukraine gave up its nuclear weapons in order for that security deal with Russia, and Russia didn't stick to it. So, you know, something else that came up in my mind today as well was that Elon Musk, well, the last check I did was 4.5 billion that he has in his bank account. And just 1 billion of that would fix all of America's problems. You would have no homelessness, you would have no hunger, prices would be lower, people would have healthcare. But no, Elon Musk goes and fires a load of staff from various federal companies within the US, and now those people are unemployed and have to find work. So that's just adding to the unemployment costs in America. I was watching a video earlier on of a guy who had health insurance in the US, and he received a bill from the US for $600. And he realized, oh, he had insurance. So he contacted him and said, look, he has insurance. So, you know, they need to refix the bill, which they did. And they charged him $1,300. And he rang them and said, look, why are you charging me this much? And he said, oh, because you have insurance, you have to pay this price. Whereas somebody who doesn't have insurance gets a discount. I'm so glad here in the UK, we have the NHS, the National Health Service, and that healthcare for us is free at the point of access. And that is something that was put in place by our Labour government after World War II. So that people who have diabetes can get their insulin for free. That people such as myself who has various illnesses can get my medication for free. It is paid for in the taxes that I pay to the government, national insurance, but I can still get those drugs that I need to survive for free. And yet Trump is taking away, and Musk is taking away, the Medicare, Medicaid, Obamacare as it used to be called in the States. Has the price of eggs gone down? Just asking. Tristan Lee, the NHS is fantastic. It really is. If you don't think so, then you haven't experienced it. My dad passed over with liver cancer 3 years ago now, and he had the best care that he could. He wanted to pass away at home, and so we had carers coming in twice a day, all arranged by the NHS. All of his care was paid for by the NHS. He had a hospital bed, he had everything that he needed, a commode, and so on. So, yeah, the NHS is good. I'm waiting for an operation, and I know that once I get that operation, all my care afterwards is going to be covered. I broke my leg twice over the past couple of years, and I was able to go and get my treatment straight away and without any payment. I have my doctors that I go and see. I'm going for an ultrasound. I'm going to see my surgeon next week. I'm on HRT, you know, the NHS is brilliant. Thank you, Recondo. Let's get Recondo a date. Not interested, mate. Not interested. Quite happy being single. Crazy cat lady here. But yeah, the way that Trump and Vance treated Zelensky was disgusting. The way that they just reneged on everything that the previous administration had built up with with NATO, with the allies. Now, I've seen this evening some news very recently that there is, I think, Britain is giving 3 billion to Ukraine. It's a loan, so they will have to pay it back, but hopefully it'll be paid back by Russia and by the Russian assets that are on hold here in the UK. So that money will be repaid. But Russia is the country that we all need to be aware of. Donald Trump said that Zelensky was going to be the cause of World War III. No. Putin invaded Ukraine. I saw those tanks on the border. And when I saw them, I said to my partner at the time that there's going to be a war. And he was like, no. And Putin said that it was, maneuvers and they were practicing. And no, 3 days later, they invaded. Poland has increased their force on the border of Russia. You know, what will it take for the rest of the world to stand up to Russia? Putin wants that imperial Russia back. He wants more of the Eastern European countries. If he gets what he wants with Ukraine, he will continue and come back for the rest of Ukraine. He will go into Latvia, Estonia, Croatia, and all of the countries that used to form part of communist Russia in the Cold War. Those countries are now European. And Europe will fight for those people, for those borders. Richard Scholley, Ukraine should be disgusted by their president, never bite the hand that feeds you. I'm not sure what you're referring to there, if you think that Zelensky bit Donald Trump's hand, because he didn't. He was ambushed. He was ambushed. He was there to sign an agreement, but he wanted security on that agreement, that Russia would not come back 3 years down the line once they have, restocked their army and do the same again. He's entitled to that. Zelensky is not a warmonger. Putin is a warmonger. Zelensky wants to keep his borders, is protecting Ukraine. As I said earlier on, if Texas was invaded by Mexico and you were given a peace deal that said, right, Mexico's going to keep Texas and you keep this, and they're going to keep the oil rights to Texas, would you as Americans want that? Honest question. Honest question. US having interest in the minerals is the securities agreement? No, it isn't. It's just US wanting money. That's all it is. That doesn't give security that Russia is not going to invade Ukraine later on or invade the rest of Europe. You know, where's that? Do a kickflip. Right. Yeah. You know, I can stand on my head. I could probably still I can do the splits still. So yeah, probably could do a kickflip. You're going to call the fashion police. I'm sure they'll be interested. But what is happening now is that Trump is aligning himself with Putin. And the American people should be very afraid. He is taking away the rights of women. He is taking away the rights of minorities. And Musk is helping him. Musk wants to return to what he experienced in South Africa, apartheid. Now, I lived in South Africa from 1982 to 2006, and Elon Musk went to school with a partner of mine when I lived in South Africa at Pretoria Boys High. And he is a racist. He wants to go back to the minorities being the slaves. I am so lost staying in England. I intend to stay in England. I have no plans or intention to move anywhere else. I've lived in other countries. I've traveled around the world, and I'm happy in England now. But radioactive, I'm lost. I need help. Okay. Currently studying psychology, so maybe that'll help me. I learned all about the brain today. Anyway, that's something that Donald Trump doesn't seem to have. Like I say, he's Putin's puppet. But the way he acted in the Oval Office was disgusting, was dreadful, was reprehensible. And as a statesman, that really was not statesmanlike behaviour. So, the fact that he's breaking all of the agreements that were previously made with NATO and with the rest of the allies is terrifying and should show America what is happening, unfortunately. And I know the left of America, the Democrats in America, do see this because I follow a lot of them. I speak to a lot of them. Unfortunately, the maggots don't see it. And they still can't see that they're being conned. And I really hope that, no, Ukraine is not in NATO. I know that. But John Lankham, I know Ukraine is not in NATO, but there was an agreement that was signed after 2014 when Crimea was annexed to Russia that said that there would be protection from Russia. And America signed that. And if America does pull out of NATO, as I said earlier, some of you probably only just started watching now, is that if America goes to war, then NATO allies are not sort of don't have to go and help America. Britain, Australia, France, and Canada all helped America in Afghanistan. And you can Google that, it's online. That's what happened because, you know, they're part of NATO. So those are my thoughts on the bullying by Trump and Vance of Zelensky. And I want peace as much as everybody else. I really do. But what I don't want is Russia on the borders of England and me having to become a communist. I don't want that. And I'm pretty sure that most of you out there watching don't want that either. And yet, some people in the world seem to be complacent in that, you know, nothing's going to happen to them. This world is a small world, and it's not a booger, it's a nose ring. This world is a small world, and I wish everybody luck, and I wish for peace. But Trump and Vance laying into Zelensky like they did is disgusting. Oh, did you see that Vance ran away from the people? There were about 100 people that had stood in Vermont protesting against Vance going there on a skiing holiday, and he ran with his tail between his legs and decided to go on holiday somewhere else. You would think that he could get out of the car and just, you know, speak to people, but no. He ran away instead. Whereas Zelensky goes to the front line. 19,000 children have been kidnapped by Russia from Ukraine. 19,000 children. How many women and children have the Russians raped in Ukraine? The atrocities that we've seen on our TV screens are real. Russia invaded Ukraine. Russia could stop this war tomorrow by stopping fighting. Richard Scholler, Europe is not America's problem. No, but when America wants help, Europe comes forward to help. And, you know, do you want to be Russian? We have more than that in our own country to worry about. Every country in the world does. Every single country in the world does. You know, here in the UK, we have poverty, we have homelessness, we have so many issues, just like every other country in the world. But you ask Elon Musk for $1 billion and that will fix all of your problems in America. You will not have those problems anymore. But Elon Musk is not going to do that, even though he would make that $1 billion back within a couple of days. He is going to be the first trillionaire in the world. And he's laughing all the way to the bank. And you guys are just taking it on board. Trump and Glenn both said that Zelensky wasn't wearing a suit. Why is Musk allowed to wear a t-shirt and a hat when he's in the cabinet meetings? How does he get away with it? Tommy, you tell me how many billions have been given to Ukraine. And were they given? Were they gifted? Or were they loaned? I can travel and volunteer in Ukraine. Unfortunately, because Britain Brexited and left the EU, I can't. I would have to get a visa. And besides, I volunteer here in the United Kingdom. I raise money for refuge. I am raising money for the WWF for March. I do all sorts of things locally. I'm currently studying psychology and helping women and children who have been victims of abuse in relationships. John, 345 billion. You do know that some of that was actually kept in America and was being used to make munitions and weapons for Ukraine. So basically, you didn't lose that money. Show the proof. Show the proof. Put a link and I'll go and have a look at it. Not $3. Not $3. But hey, if you guys don't understand how war works, that's not my fault. I may disagree with you about some issues, but I think if we were married, we would make a beautiful couple. I hope I can find a nice liberal woman to make a family with. I hope you can too. I have no intention of getting married again in my life, thank you. Once was enough. I love my life. I love being single. I get to do what I want when I want. Don't you know Zelensky is in the middle of a war? He didn't have time to put a suit on. That's exactly what I said. That's exactly what I said. But of course, Trump and Vance and Glenn think that he should have put on a suit. When you look back again, as I said earlier, at World War II, when Winston Churchill went over to the White House, he didn't wear a suit. He was wearing army fatigues. Tommy, 850 billion now unaccounted for. War is no law in a real war. So anyway, I can see I'm getting quite a lot of grief in the comments here. I need to get a moderator on board at some stage to get rid of all the trolls. But I'm going to go now and I am going to sit and chill with my cats and catch up on all the other news of the world and hope that there is peace. Slava Ukraini.